this. One guy would say, well, I think they kind of did this way, and somebody else would say, well, I kind of think they did this that way, kind of trial and error. And then I left there in '81, and I didn't do it again until, in about '90, I got started again. And did it for a couple of years, and then, I did take a class out in Idaho on how to do the inlaying of the silver. Like this is actually, the metal is cut out, and then the silver is riveted into the cavity. It's not soldered on at all.
So how would that, are you talking about that these are, when you talk rivets, I think of...
Right. It's actually, you cut it. Basically, you cut it. Like say this is your piece here. You're going to cut a slot, similar to that. This would be the end view here. That's your piece of metal. You cut this out with a hammer and chisel. It's undercut, and you raise this lip up, and then you lay a piece of silver in there, and then you actually rivet the edges back down. And so what holds the silver in. There's no solder at all involved in that. That's all, just inlaid basically. Where this is called, termed overlay. It's been, cut out and then soldered down. Or this, cut out and riveted into a cavity that you've chiseled out.
Can you catch me back up on the first part of what you were talking about? Just general, what are your basic metals that you work with then?
Well, like I was telling her, this is the spur that I was working on. And those three pieces right there are basically what I started with.
Okay, so that's looks like all steel from here.
Right, 10/18 cold roll steel. This is band material. Cut the bands out, cut the shanks out on a band saw, or with a torque, depending on what you got to work with, and then weld them together. The swinger straps made out of these 20-penny nails. Like this pair of rowels go into this spurs. They're made out of tool steel, where they've been tempered. They're really hard. For one thing, they'll wear longer, and plus they'll get that ring that you associate with cowboys wearing spurs.
So you're machining each and every single one of these parts from scratch.
Yes. The only thing I don't buy or I don't start from scratch is that spur button, and I could make it. It's just I found a place I could get them, with the shoulder already turned on, and it's kind of a time saver and whatnot. And I could buy those made up for what I was having to give for the rivets that I was using to start with. So it's just kind of a time saver.
So how long from raw material to what you have basically roughed out there on the spurs?
If this spur was put together with the swingers and the buttons and the rowels put in it, I'd have between 8 and 8.5 hours in them. I do a lot of hand filing on them, working them down, a lot of polishing and grinding. So it doesn't take that long to get your basic parts, but it's the finished work that takes the time.
Yeah, and the craftsmanship.
Right. And depending on, just how far you want to go with it, you can, stop at any point, I guess, it's just kind of what you call good enough.
So would you say you're a perfectionist?
Well, I hope I never get satisfied with my work.
Excellent. Now I'm kind of dumb on this. Is this what would go through there to hold?
This would actually be the rowel pin. And it would be riveted in there. These would fit. These would be set on there, and then that button that you'd actually put your spur straps on. Like these right here.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Now, are these bridles?
Bridle bits, yeah.
Bridle bits.
Yeah.
And have you been doing? I mean, this looks like really fine. What we're not talking? Are we talking regular steel?
That's 10/18 steel. They're also cold rolled steel that those are made out of. It's just got a different acid treatment. That's called French gray, where the brown steel is actually just another kind of acid treatment that's actually it's controlled rust is what it amounts to. You just, it's an acid you put on there and you keep putting it on until you get the color you want and then you kill the acid to stop it. So basically what, like I say, it's controlled rust is what it is.
Because sometimes if you put an acid on, it doesn't get rather pitty.
Right.
You know, I've seen some things.
Right. And if you left that in that acid for an extended period of time, it will do that too. That's the key where you take it till you get basically the amount of rust you want, and then you kill the acid so to stop it.
But are you putting the treatment on to get this, I mean, do you buy it that way? Or this, I'm looking at this as really a...
Okay, now that's like the sterling overlay on that.
Okay.
Is what that is, the engraved part there. That it's been, cut and soldered down.
So how have you, you're basically doing it for people and animals?
Right. Trying to, keep everything humane where it doesn't pinch. As far as the vents go, the spurs, of course, I guess to make about anything anybody wants, but also kind of have, my own personal thoughts, what they need to look like and how they need to be made. It's different from other people, everybody's got their own opinion, I guess. So like you were asking about the silver, these would actually be buttons that will eventually cover those buttons, and then they'll end up be like that as a sterling silver cap. But that's, just some discs cut out, and that's the part that's got so far.
So what has, how many years ago were you doing the working in the saddle shop, and then how many years have you been, and how long does it take to get to this fine?
Get to this point?
Yeah.
Like I said, I worked in that saddle shop for 2 years. Left there in 81, was there 79 through 81. And then it was about 90 when I got started again. I've got some stuff around on the walls in here that probably nobody will ever see. They're kind of personal reminders. That what they used to think was pretty good doesn't look too good anymore.
That's always good, though. I think to time and experience does improve.
It's kind of like these little bracelets. An old girl, 5 now, and I've been making her one every year for Christmas, putting her stocking. And it's interesting to look at them even in just 5 years. The differences and changes, and I guess kind of gives you something to go by. Make sure you are making progress.
So it's like a marker for her, but also a marker for yourself.
Yeah. And hopefully it'll make a nice collection for her someday.
Absolutely. Year by year, anyway. Well, would you call yourself self-taught for the most part? You said you did some training in that.
Oh, I guess, yes and no. I guess I personally have a little problem with the phrase being self-taught. I hear a lot of people say that, and, to me it's a little bit derogatory to somebody that maybe has taken a class, because to me, you learn something from everybody you talk to. And I guess as far as I'm concerned, the only person that's self-taught was the first guy that ever did it. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but that's my personal opinion. Just because, say I went to a class, took a class in it, doesn't mean that I do it exactly that way. I have my twists and wrinkles to it. And so, maybe I shouldn't feel the way I do about, the self-taught deal. But
Well, it's a compliment wherever, however you look at it anyway. That's just,
but like I say, I feel like, I've learned something from everybody I've ever talked to.
do you find many people, you're in the showing and fitting, are many people across the states that you travel in doing anything? I mean, some like this, but of this, I mean, I would think this would be far and few.
Oh, there's a lot of people around doing it, you know, and they're on all levels. You might go to several shows a year, like go to Abilene, Texas in May. It's supposedly the world's largest fitness spur show. And there's, you know, people from just starting out to, you know, making me look like a beginner. And, so there's just, you know, people on all different levels. I guess, you know, to me the biggest thing, you know, as long as the person's always trying to improve, you know, that's the main thing. And you see some people that have kind of gotten to a point where they say, well, that's good enough. I guess, you know, the person does it for money, but yet money's got to be secondary. You've got to have pride in your work and whatnot. You know, the money will come later, you know, if it comes.
That's true. So do you go, I'm thinking if you just wore any of these pieces or had them on horses or cattle, people would wonder where you got them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would think your work would sell itself kind of for anybody.
I guess, you know, a lot of it's word of mouth also. In fact, I just had a guy from Texas call today that heard about me through another guy. Put in an order for first food. And, you know, this guy I'd never met, you know, don't have a clue who I'm talking to. He's going to send me some information on what he wants.
Now, are spurs sized? I mean, I was surprised. I talked to one guy who shoes horses, and we, you know, every, of course, horse
Right.
size of hoof, and are spurs sized according to people?
The good ones are. You kind of course, like these, outside of that one pair with the straps on I made for my wife several years ago, the other 2 or 3 pair that I've got there are just made, you know, for like when I go to a show, you've got to have something to sell, although most people, you know, I really like that, but I'd like it just a little bit different, you know. You've got to have something to show them. Once in a while you'll sell a pair, so they're kind of made to fit the bulk of the people, you know. If they won't, you know, I can bring them home and refit them a little bit, you know. I can't get real drastic with them, but, you know, I can reshape them. But if you came in and ordered a pair of spurs, you know, specifically for yourself, I'd measure your foot, you know, and get a shape, you know, what it actually took, you know, to fit their heels and, you know, make them fit accordingly.
Pretty custom.
And that's basically what my work all is custom, you know. This little bit that I've got here, you know, you've got to have something to show people, you know, and there's some people want to buy it right now. But, you know, the bulk of it will be custom, you know, they'll want their brand on it, or they'll want this just a little bit different, or their initials.
So how would you say the bulk of the things you do for animals or for humans?
Oh, it's probably a pretty even mix. Yeah.
Well, I know, so animals can get looking pretty spiffy anyway when the animal's already worth
Right.
quite a bit to begin with. I mean, really quite interesting. Well, how about what are we talking about in these as far as is that true?
Yeah. Everything that's been engraved is sterling silver. I don't engrave any nickel. It's just something when I started I made up my mind I wasn't going to.
So do you just come up with your own, you know, I see different pattern type designs on
Right.
these?
Each one just, unless you sit down and do 2 at the same time for somebody that wants, you know, a match set, there'll never be another one that looks like it. You know, it might get close, but
it's probably a little more fun to start out with each piece. So where do you get ideas for what, you know, you're gonna, you know,
Oh, sometimes it jumps right out at you, and sometimes you got to agonize over it for quite a while. But it is kind of interesting that probably one of the biggest things that helped me was we was at a show, Abilene, Texas, one year, and there was a really good engraver sitting behind me, and I had taken my stuff along to do some work on. He'd get to looking over my shoulder and he'd say, "Well, do this here, and do that there, And then the next day, we got to visiting quite a bit, and I'd taken a hair barrette like this along. It was a pretty good size one that had a center, and then one side was more or less a mirror image of the other. And I talked him into doing one side while I watched, and then I did the other side. And I probably gained 8-10 years experience in that 2 or 3 days, just having him there looking over your shoulder, because you could actually see. And it kind of went, how to fill your space up, and what to do in certain places. You went from the time you used to spend agonizing over what you were going to do, you'd have it done,
Yes, though, when you get to that point, that you can, see where you want to head and move right on. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Glad Clayton shared your name. Well, I meant, what?
Right here.
Oh, my Lord.
Like that's the pattern for that shank. Right there.
I hadn't even thought about that being, it's different on each pair. So how, did you figure these up, or is this a set?
These are probably 40 years accumulation from different people and stuff, Some of them, I've designed myself. Some of them I've got from other people. Some of them are kind of standard throughout the industry as far as, everybody, has a shank or two that everybody makes, but everybody does a little bit different too. But like I say, that's, cut that out of that steel there.
Did you, when you graduated from high school, did you go right into the South, and did you always know you wanted to do some kind of a...
Well, when I got out of high school, I went to junior college up at Colby, and then when I got out of there, I took a ranch job down in Coldwater, and worked there for 3 years, and then I went to the saddle shop. So I was looking for something different to do, and I always liked, tinkering, I'd made some belts and stuff like that when I was in college and whatnot. It's kind of like a lot of people, you're too cheap to buy it, so you started making it.
Yeah, but like where it lived at. Well, did you like working with leather?
Yeah, we were kind of more of a, they had a custom saddle shop, and then we also did a lot of strap goods, headstalls, bridles, reins, stuff like that, and they had a wholesale business. And that's mostly what I made when I was there, was the strap goods. But, you still, you did a lot of repairing, learned about how things were made and put together. It's just anymore, I really don't have any place to do it, An iron shop and a leather shop isn't a very good marriage as far as, one's pretty dirty and, the other one needs to be kept pretty clean. So.
Do you think any of those, and I'm thinking of design patterns, even like this, just being around the saddle shop, would learn that?
Something I've noticed, the guys that have got into, doing silver work, that have done a lot of tooling, on leather and whatnot, have a very big advantage, because a lot of the patterns, the concepts are the same, and the flow and whatnot. So they've got a pretty big jump that way on somebody that's just starting out from scratch.
That's what I would think, that there's a certain, I guess, somewhat of a traditional look, but this is way beyond that. Have you had many articles done about you?
Oh, few. There was local papers. We'll start off with a small flat graver, and that kind of cuts the basic background for the scroll, the backbone of it, I guess you could call it. A lot of times for this practice, I'll work on this copper. It's very similar in the consistency to sterling. It's about as close as you're going to come, so it's a lot cheaper medium to play with.
The device that you have that mounted on, is that a standard engraver's vise?
Or
Or
it's
is it
called a
something
jeweler's vise or an engraving ball. This one was made by a machinist out in Bend, Oregon. It's a 45-pound ball. It's pretty essential to do engraving. A lot of guys will start out, you noticed over on the other side there's a vise sitting on a post. That's what I started off with. And a lot of people start off that way. But basically just cutting chips out, and see each one of those deals is kind of a 3 or 4 part. They make a backhand cut, forehand cut, and what they do is they mirror each other, and that's how you get the shine, because they reflect light into each other.
Are they sharp? The pieces that you're...
Yeah, you're actually cutting, it's just like you're cutting burrs out. The first time I started doing this, I thought there was a piece just laying on top of the plate, and I went to wipe it off. Of course, it was still connected, and it's just like hitting a razor blade. I do have a machine over here I can do this with. I used it for several years. This is more the traditional way of doing it. I guess partly too is the challenge of being able to do it by hand versus using a machine. Which really, the machine, all it's doing is providing the power to do it with. You're still guiding it by hand.
Well, but here it looks like you have a technique of the guide stroke and also your cut stroke. So both hands that you're using are really important players.
Right. Actually, you're holding the tool still, and you're turning the work into it.
So you're basically a human lathe.
I guess you could say that in a sense.
Only much more talented.
And you also notice you always want to keep your left hand down low below the cutting surface. If you ever slip, they can go pretty deep.
Because you're applying quite a bit of pressure with that being level, aren't you?
Right.
Can you only do this a certain amount of time? Where you have to kind of give your hands a rest?
There's guys probably that do it all day long. Usually I don't do it for that long a period. A lot of times I'll work for an hour or two and then go do something else just to give yourself a break.
So you said you were going out judging. Are you judging cattle or?
Yeah.
what? So you have your favorite breed?
Oh, we've pretty much always been involved with Hereford. Kind of like another guy and I just work a lot of sales together. We jokingly say our favorite color of cows is green.
And that me. Whatever it is.
Whatever pays the bill. I don't know if you can kind of see that.
Mm-hmm. Good talent. A lot of talent.
That's kind of the basics of it anyway.
Anybody else in Kansas? I mean, that does any engraving? That's pretty good.
Oh, there's a guy up at Idana, his name is Darren Brim. Builds bits and spurs and buckles and does some engraving. Oh, you'd be surprised, there's guys scattered all over.
Probably too, but
Yeah.
if they like tallow or
Mhm.
or whatever,
Yeah.
you're around it more and you just
Right.
your appreciation. So, Mom and Dad have any kind of a creative endeavor?
They claim they don't know where I got it.
Well, that's okay. So you said you have a daughter.
Mhm.
See her have any, I mean, this is very artistic, any leanings in that direction?
No, I don't know, it's maybe a little early to tell yet, other than every time you make something different, she'll come in and say, I'd like that. You know? Or I'll take one of those.
Hey, you're even appreciating it, you know, you just go from there and say, well, okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I think of any more questions? I think maybe I might try to get one of you just over here, I guess you're working.